What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights, Week 6. About to be in the books after today. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Eastern Conference, where you have two teams at the top and one team starting to really distance themselves as the clear favorite in the East. The Detroit Pistons dominate the Knicks on the road, going to Madison Square Garden. A stellar performance from Cade Cunningham. So are they indeed now the team to beat in the East? We'll discuss that. We'll also discuss whether Cade Cunningham should be part of the MVP conversation after last night's dazzling performance at the Garden. And so we got plenty of basketball at the top of the show. I just want to talk about something I mentioned yesterday, which was Rich Paul making a declaration for who he believes is the best player in the NBA. And now I'm wondering if it should be Cade Cunningham after last night, but it's not Cade Cunningham. But I want to break it down and maybe see, A, why is he saying this guy, and B, is he right? And then we could have a conversation about who is the actual best player in the NBA right now. I think I didn't think it was that much of a conversation to be had, but maybe we need to have it. So we're going to talk about that. And we'll do some football stuff. We have an A.J. Brown troll. I think at this point in time, the A.J. Brown Philadelphia thing is probably going to have to end expeditiously. I think he's making movements to try to make that happen as quickly as possible. We'll talk about his appearance on a podcast with Edelman and Gronk, where he quote-unquote trolled Patriots fans. And we'll soon be seeing the Indiana Bears, as in the formerly Chicago Bears, becoming the Indiana Bears, because apparently Chicago Bears are one step closer to actually moving from Chicago to Northwest Indiana. Now, if you're from that area, you know that is essentially just Chicago suburb. But the Chicago Bears could be leaving in Illinois to build a stadium in Indiana. So we'll break that down as well. 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live, multiple spots, including on YouTube, New Generation Media. Shout out to the people watching on YouTube. Also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. And streaming on Instagram, Action EJ. Really excited to do this show. Came on a little late because I was actually running my mouth off with my fiance because we were talking about Love is Blind. We will not have a Love is Blind recap today. That'll probably come maybe next week if I want to do it. I'm kind of on the fence. But that show is wild. I only watched one episode from this 3-episode drop that came out this past week, or came out on Wednesday or Thursday. These days blend in after this whole 5 shows in 48-hour stretch that I did. But that I watched one episode last night, during the Knicks game, while I had the Knicks game on my iPad. And then we didn't get to watch any more, because then I watched the rest of that Knicks game, and I kind of wish I didn't, given how it went. Though, of course, I need to do the show, so I need to make sure I watched it. But, man, I just think that is one of the best shows we have when it comes to, if you really want to understand the state of modern Americana and modern young people and modern dating. I just think this is one of the best shows that we have. It's not to say that it's a reality show. It's not to say that there isn't manufactured mess. It's not to say that there isn't, things that may appear to be one way and not fully the case because of just the fact that it is a reality show. But man, I really do feel like when it comes to talking about reality TV, talking about, again, how people are right now in America, how young people are in America, and their sensibilities on things, their sensibilities of the other gender, I just think it's a great show. I really do. And I watched only one episode from this recent 3-episode drop, and we were just talking about it because we were still kind of like, that was crazy, right? Was that not crazy what we watched? We were talking about one of the couples And I might have their pictures. I don't know if I still have their pictures. Do I have their pictures? No, I got rid of them. But one of the couples, I may actually have their pictures because I actually do download most of these. Actually, I have them right here. These people. Yeah, these people. Anyway, they had a situation where you had a parent meetup, which always happens. It's always a big part of the show, where the person brings their new fiance to meet their parents. And this young lady, Ashley, had to introduce her new fiance that she's only known for 2-3 weeks, Alex, to her dad, who's like this divorce lawyer. And this guy grills the hell out of this man. And I just think the sensibilities from the conversation, the dialogue from it, just everybody's role, because it wasn't just like, oh, it was just like a meet up with her dad and these three. Her whole family was there, and how it became so much of just like a measuring contest, to say the least, in many ways. And again, just the things that came out of it, I just found it very interesting. So if you're watching Love Is Blind, you know exactly what I'm talking about with this conversation that happened on the show. And again, conversation is even harsh. It felt more like, again, a grilling session from someone who is a lawyer who was trying to nail down exactly, is this man right for my daughter? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. I don't think he really likes this guy. But I found it really interesting. So I watched Love Is Blind last night. That's why I came in a little late, because we were talking about it right before I ran in here. But we'll get to the Love Is Blind stuff probably sometime next week. Unfortunately, Kendall, who's on later tonight, he's not a Love Is Blind fan, so I don't think we will be able to talk about Love Is Blind later tonight. But we'll get to more Love Is Blind. I just want to get to Traders too, because Traders also, we're getting down to the wire on that show, and that show is also fire. And I keep telling people, man, get in. And if you have Peacock, that's the only way you can watch this, because it's not on NBC, it's on Peacock. But you are so lucky if you haven't actually watched yet, because that means you could binge this show. And this show, I think, is extremely bingeable. Like, I binged the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then, like, we caught up, because remember I told you guys I watched 4 episodes of this show before the AFC Championship game? Oh, excuse me, AFC Divisional Round. It was Buffalo Bills against the Denver Broncos. And, like, I had, like, 3 hours to kill before the game. I literally had nothing to do. And Andrea's like, want to watch this show with me? And I was like, yeah, why not? I'm here. Like, I'm not doing anything. So, and I was just gripped by the show for the 3 hours, so much so that I even kept watching the show when the game started and put the game on my iPad and the multitasking, watching the first half of that game, because I was like, I gotta keep watching it. This is awesome. And then I was mad that there were no more episodes. I would have kept watching. I would have watched the whole Bills collapse against the Denver Broncos on my iPad if I had to, or if I could, because I was so gripped by Traders. So there's some good TV out there. I know a lot of people say TV sucks, and maybe scripted TV sucks, but the reality TV, they're still alive and kicking and doing quite well these days. But anyway, again, let's get it rocking. 40 days, 40 nights. Let's begin talking about the dazzling performance by Cade Cunningham, who dominated at Madison Square Garden in what was going to be a very high-profile game. It was Knicks Pistons on Amazon Prime. I think yesterday I kept saying it was on Peacock. I don't know why I kept saying it was on Peacock, probably because I was thinking about Traders and wrestling. But this is an Amazon Prime game. Cade Cunningham, he becomes the first guy since LeBron James in 2009 to have a 40-point, 10-assist game at Madison Square Garden. That seemed impossible, only because, and this was because the Knicks were so bad during a lot of these stretches, I would assume somebody else, a James Harden or Luka or somebody, would have had a 40-point, 10-assist game. But according to Ian Eagle in the broadcast, I'm assuming he's right about that. First guy since 2009, LeBron James. I actually remember when that happened. I think LeBron had like a 50-point. He almost had a triple though. I think they took it away, but I think he had a 50-point, 10 assists, 9 rebound game or something. I think they took a rebound away, something like that. But last guy to do that, LeBron James. He scores 42 points on 13 assists. He also did not have his fellow All-Star Jalen Duren in this game. Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, also not in this game. Those two guys, remember, they're suspended for the fight that happened with the Hornets last week or a couple weeks ago that we talked about on the show. So shorthanded, they go into the Garden and they take care of the Knicks. It was a really dominant second quarter that I think kind of turned this game on its head, and the Knicks were never really able to get right back into this game. They win 126-111. And you have to now, if you have any doubts about whether or not the Pistons are for real, A, if you're a Knicks fan, and then B, if you're just an NBA observer, I think you have to take this team now extremely seriously. I think in large part because Cade Cunningham is entering the upper echelon, one of the elite players in this game. And I thought the broadcast had some other issues in terms of their conversations about the game, which we'll get to in a second. But I think they were right on the money that Cade Cunningham is probably a player that's not getting talked about enough for MVP. The Pistons have the best record in the NBA. They are, at this point, by far the best team in the Eastern Conference, at least in terms of the regular season. You have to say that. They've dominated the Knicks 3 times, and they're up now. I believe in the saying, up 6 games on the Knicks and Celtics for that last spot. Celtics did win last night. They beat up on the shorthanded Warriors. But I mean, the Pistons are a legit team. They're physical. They play phenomenal defense. They're 5.5 up right now on the Celtics, 7 games on the Knicks. They will be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. There's no question about that. So is Cade Cunningham somebody that deserves MVP consideration? I think you have to put him in the conversation. He plays both ends of the floor. He is an excellent passer. He's averaging about 9 assists a game this year. He's averaging 25 points. And he's winning. His team is winning. And this is one of those things where in the past, I think he would have been an MVP darling. People used to love the you do this with less kind of guy, even if your numbers don't stack up to some of the other great players. So like Steve Nash, for example, like his MVPs that he won, a lot of it was, wow, you took over a team that was terrible and you've now turned them into a championship contender with you running the point. You're making everybody else better. And that was a lot of the case for him. He had good individual numbers too, but he was not averaging 30 points or anything like that. He was going to be a high assist guy, kind of a guy averaging like mid to high teens when it comes to his scoring, but it was his impact. Same thing with a guy who didn't win the MVP, but was a guy who certainly, I think, should have won in, what was this, 02, was Jason Kidd. He won a pretty close, he lost a pretty close race to Tim Duncan. Jason Kidd, again, individual numbers weren't going to stack up to anybody like Tim Duncan, but it was his team is winning. He doesn't have a lot of other all-stars. And that year, he had no all-stars on his team. And he is carrying them as the point guard. In previous years, this is a guy that absolutely would have had plenty of MVP talk. But I think because we've become such a analytic-based and statistic-based sports conglomerate in terms of how we view these players, how we view these individual talents, that I think Cade is somebody that probably has been getting overlooked because they say, and it's not like his numbers are bad, but when you think about some of the leading scorers in the NBA, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Nikola Jokic, you're talking about guys that are going to be averaging 30 points a game. Guys that are putting up huge numbers. Nikola Jokic averaging essentially a triple-double. Like, he's not going to have those numbers. That's not what Cade is doing for the Pistons, but it doesn't make his impact any less that he's not doing that. So I think the broadcast was right that he definitely should be in the MVP conversation. I would right now have Shai as a back-to-back MVP, but he is a little banged up right now. So let's see how many games he misses. I think Cade Cunningham, in my opinion, should be right behind him. I think him and Jokic should be right there for 2 and 2A for the MVP conversation because, I mean, he was spectacular. And it's crazy. Now, I will say, I don't know if OG Anunoby was himself. OG had taken the assignment of guarding Cade Cunningham last night. OG had been dealing with a toe avulsion that apparently was really painful, and his toenail is now completely removed. I mean, his defense, it seemed okay. His shot certainly wasn't. OG was this is one of the worst OG Anunoby games I think I've seen him play. I think he was horrendous last night. It was to the point where I was like, he can't be on the floor. Mike Brown gave him a shot at the end, but I actually would have just put Bridges back out there. Bridges wasn't great either, but I would have just put Bridges back out there and left Sohan on him and just taking my chance with that because OG was a disaster. He's coming back from an injury. He's got to work his way through his rust, but he could not score. He could not create for himself, and he could not guard Cade Cunningham. I mean, Cade, he just took him apart, and I don't see too many guys that offensively have their way with OG Anunoby the way Cade Cunningham did. Now, was a lot of that because OG was not 100%? Or was this just a young player who's now in the prime of his career, understanding his full powers and realizing there's nobody on the court that can guard me? That's what it looked like. It also seemed like he's wanted to kind of like let the Knicks know that because he's hitting shots and talking to him. He hit a nasty step back on Jeremy Sohan in the fourth quarter that kind of put the game away and put it on ice, and was talking to him all the way down the floor. I think those guys are kind of cool because they were kind of laughing and talking throughout the game. So I don't think it was anything like super like there's a fight that's going to happen. But clearly, though, it was like he was trying to make a point that you can't guard me, they can't guard me, and every time we see you guys, this is how it's going to be. And he's a scary dude. I'll be honest. Like as we look at this Eastern Conference as a Knicks fan, looking just from like a perspective of like teams you're gonna have to face, he looks like he's gonna be a serious problem. And last year, I thought in the playoffs, people kind of elevated him to a status that he did not earn yet, and he got outplayed by Jalen Brunson in that series because I think he was still learning playoff basketball. And that brings me to the second part of this. I do need to emphasize that this is not playoff basketball, and for Knicks fans that are nearing that ledge after seeing what has happened, I want to back them off a little bit. Back off. It's okay. Last night was rough. It was a blood boiling kind of defeat that they took last night. Like I can't remember. I'm trying to think of all the really tough losses. Maybe take away like the losing streak because they were just in a funk. I'm trying to think of all the other losses that really bothered me. This one was pretty high. Again, they're missing 2 key players in the front court. The Knicks' strength is their ability to dominate on the glass and dominate the paint, and they had no answer. I thought Mitchell Robinson's impact wasn't nearly what you would think it would be. Karl-Anthony Towns, again, kind of floating around, and the thing about Cat is when he starts floating around, and some of it, I'll be honest, last night I don't think was necessarily his fault. I actually thought that the Knicks should have been more aggressive in getting him involved because there was no Beef Stew and because there was no Isaiah Stewart. And when he doesn't get involved, then when he finally starts getting opportunities to be aggressive, then he's very predictable, and then he's driving into 3 or 4 guys, and he's trying to do things he can't do. So then he's getting ripped, he's getting his shot punched, and now he's not getting things into the flow of the offense. So I thought the Knicks, in terms of their approach to this game, was bad. I actually thought this was also a pretty bad Mike Brown game. I think, and now, this is where I stress the regular season, because there's some things I think you maybe hide for the playoffs. I don't expect the Knicks to guard Cade Cunningham how they guarded him in this game, which was essentially they were going to allow him to beat them. I don't know why. It was almost like they were maybe surprised he came out overly aggressive. He's a guy that's uber aggressive, by the way. Like he had a game last year where he shot like 42 shots. Like he has no problem getting the ball up. He will shoot. He's an unselfish guy. He's a very good passer, but he is an aggressive player. And in this night where he doesn't have Jalen Duren and he doesn't have Beef Stew and he's playing at the Garden and he knows this is a high-profile game, I don't know why they expected any less from Cade Cunningham. They wasn't going to be uberly aggressive. When he's playing like that, you have to come out to me showing him bodies, showing him hands. You have to make him a distributor. You have to make him get those other guys involved and make those other guys make plays. It's not like the Detroit Pistons don't have good players around him, but they don't have other stars or other guys that I feel like can really seriously hurt you. OG's a great defender, but it felt like the Knicks were too willing to allow simply OG to guard him one-on-one on pick-and-roll coverages. They were too willing to play drop coverage and let Cade see, like Dwayne Wade said, the same coverages over and over again. There was no mix-up. There were no blitzes. There were no traps. They switched a couple of times, but the switches that they had, again, very comfortable with Karl-Anthony Towns guarding him in spots where I thought maybe you wouldn't be comfortable, where you maybe want to double-team those. I just hated the game plan. I just hated the game plan. Again, I don't know if this is Mike Brown saying, hey, let's not show them what will probably be a more aggressive game plan in the playoffs, where we're not going to allow Cade Cunningham to just pick apart the defense and just pick his shots. Because that's the thing about the NBA, and all NBA great players and stars will tell you this. The way they train, the way they get ready for NBA season, they want to get signature moves and spots on the floor that they know exactly what they're going to and where they can get their buckets. And that's what you hear all the time. NBA players say, "Oh, I found my spots. I was going to pick my spots, and I went to work." Cade Cunningham just was too comfortable. It just felt like all the plays he was making, he was phenomenal, but it felt like this was him at practice. It felt like this was a training workout where the shots that he would try to find when he's working out with his trainer in the offseason that you'll see in an Instagram video probably in 6-7 months when he's in the offseason, these were the shots he was getting last night. And he's got to make them. He's a great player. It's like the Knicks were almost like kind of wishing he would miss or hoping OG knew we would be able to get him away from those shots, and they didn't. Mike Brown after the game said he thought that the Knicks did a poor job of keeping the Detroit Pistons out of the paint and out of the middle. They tried to deny that, and it didn't work. I didn't even know that they even tried. Again, I don't know if that, and that's where again, is it an effort thing? Did they coach it, but they did not emphasize the game plan enough? I just thought in that kind of game, you need to be showing Cade Cunningham multiple bodies every time he comes off the screen. And he's a great passer, and other guys are going to make shots. Let's see if they keep making shots. I think at a certain point, you can't just say we're going to be totally comfortable with Cade Cunningham taking the majority of the shots and being super aggressive offensively. I didn't understand it. So I didn't understand that. I thought the substitution patterns were weird. We kept talking about what was going to happen with Sohan and Diawara. Diawara came out and played to start. It's like, okay, maybe Sohan's not in the rotation yet. Maybe he's whatever. And then Sohan was in the game with Diawara, which I don't think that's necessarily a great fit. And I thought the second quarter, like I said, kind of really hurt the Knicks. And part of it was because they essentially were like Jose Alvarado's out there, Diawara's a rookie, and then Sohan's getting thrown into the mix. I just thought they never really got comfortable in this game. And I almost felt like because the game was close, like these games have been blowouts from like the tip with the Pistons the first two games. It's almost like because the game was close, I think it kind of gave the Knicks a false sense of security where they felt like, hey, like we can like try some things and we can be comfortable with like letting Cade Cunningham, even though it looks like he's really starting to cook. We'll still be comfortable with him doing this because we're still within 4 or 5 points, but that wasn't going to be sustainable, especially with the way the Knicks were defending. With the way they were shooting, which is the other aspect of this game, which was the Knicks just shot the ball extremely poorly. They were definitely shots that they normally make that they were missing, but the Pistons defense also was very in tune, very connected, and they're playing great basketball. They're a very good basketball team. They're going to be a problem in the playoffs. I think if you're the Knicks, you want to make sure you don't fall to the number 4 seed. I'll be real. I don't think you want to fall to the 4 seed because this Pistons team is going to be number 1 seed, and you don't want to be in a position where you have to face these guys in the second round. I think you want to face these guys as late as possible and hope that the fatigue of the season, the wear and tear of a playoff run, or maybe even someone else knocks this team out. Because we saw last year, this is a Pistons team that matches up with the Knicks pretty well. And now they're confident, and now they have a full understanding of what they're trying to do. And it still seems like with the Knicks, with Mike Brown, it seems like they're still a step behind, still kind of trying to figure out who they are still. And it was just disappointing. That was a night where Jalen Brunson was here for the party. Like, he had, 35 points, whatever he had. Like, I thought Jalen was pretty awesome. It didn't seem like anyone else really was able to get involved and be consistent. But it wasn't like their star didn't try to match Cade Cunningham. There was no way Brunson was going to outplay him in this night. Cade Cunningham, this was his night. But Brunson was there. Like, for Brunson to have that kind of game and you still get blown out, that's a bad sign. It's a bad sign. Knicks overall in this game were 8 for 35 from 3. And that really is kind of like, the numbers were actually worse before the last stretch when Landry hit a couple of threes. Brunson hit a 3 in the second half. But 1 for 8 from OG, 1 for 4 from Cat, 0 for 3 from Bridges, 0 for 5 from Jose Alvarado. It was not a good shooting performance again. Landry started off really slow before he got to 8 for 3. You shoot 23% for 3-point percentage against the Pistons, you were going to lose 100% at the time. So that's what happened. But I'll back the Knicks fans off the ledge because it is regular season basketball. And this Knicks team showed last season that you simply cannot assume regular season failures mean you're doomed in the postseason, because they had similar issues with the top teams in the NBA last year where they were 0 for 10 for the top 4 or 5 teams in the Eastern Conference, in the NBA, not just East, the entire NBA. They got destroyed by the Cavs, they got destroyed by the Celtics, and they got destroyed by the Thunder. Those are the top 3 teams, 0 and 10. They also got swept by the Lakers last year, who were one of the top teams in the West. They've done this before, and then we've seen them play in the playoffs, and then they had success. They also lost to the Pistons a bunch last year in the regular season too, and then they beat them in the playoffs. So I think you have to back yourself off the ledge if you're really, really feeling like you have no chance to beat this team and now the Knicks are doomed. I don't think they're doomed, but they got a lot to figure out. This game plan was not going to work, and it was a little disappointing that in a game where it felt like it was teed up for the Knicks to get their lick back, beat this team, not, especially with no Duren and no beef stew, Isaiah Stewart. And Paul Reed has 18 points on 7 for 9 from the field. And Paul Reed was super active, too. He had 3 offensive rebounds. I just thought Paul Reed played a great game. And Paul Reed typically plays terrible against the Knicks. Ever since he opened his mouth up years ago about how he thought the Sixers were going to beat the Knicks and he wasn't worried about the Knicks, and then he had a terrible series and the Knicks beat the Sixers in the first round. He's always played terrible against the Knicks. He played terrible in that series. Even in the regular season games they played last year, he was still terrible with the Pistons, and he was awful in the playoffs. So Paul Reed having this kind of performance, where he has 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and I thought he was the most impactful big on the floor, which is unacceptable when you have Cat and Mitchell Robinson playing. Completely unacceptable. Mitchell Robinson he did have his 4 offensive rebounds. He did have 7 points. He actually made 3 of his 6 free throws. That's pretty good for him, 50%. But the most impactful big, no question, was Paul Reed last night. He was great finishing around the basket. He was active with his defense, his blocking, his offensive glass work kind of negated in Mitchell Robinson, because Mitchell Robinson had 4, but then he had 3 of his own. The Pistons actually, they tied up the Knicks when it came to offensive rebounding. And that's where, again, you may get a little concerned about this matchup. Because the Knicks, for a team that people like to joke about, oh, they're kind of soft or, oh, whatever, their identity is still physicality. It took them a while to get there, but they eventually got there by the playoff time last year, which is why I think they beat the Pistons. Because I think the Pistons is like, oh, we're going to just out-tough this team. It's like, well, the Knicks are a pretty strong, tough team. Like, that's the DNA that Tom Thibodeau had instilled in the team. So they were ready for that fight. We'll see if they're ready for that fight again. But the Knicks usually dominate people on the glass, and they could not dominate the Pistons at all. And the Pistons were going to dominate the defensive glass because the Knicks missed so many damn shots. But we saw last year with the Celtics. They had a series with the Celtics where they got destroyed in the regular season, and most people came into that series giving the Knicks absolutely no chance, in large part because of what happened in the playoffs the previous year. They scored to Boston 2 games down 20-plus points, and they're able to come back and steal and win those games. So I don't think that you can look at this and say that this is now the end of the season. Oh, right in the Pistons. Excuse me. I wanted to mute my mic there and couldn't. But no, I feel like this is a situation where you have to look at this and say, it's the regular season. The Knicks are a veteran team. They're coming out for All-Star break. They sound like a lot of excuses, but this is the NBA. Like, these are the reasons why teams don't win regular season games. Especially teams with championship aspirations that are just trying to get to April. So I would temper concern. Like, if you say what my concern level is right now, I'll say 6.5. Inching to 7, but maybe 6.5. I mean, the Pistons are a good team. Like, I thought they were a good team before this night, so it's not like this has changed anything. I thought that they were one of the best teams in the East. I still think the Knicks are the team to beat. But, well, I think the Knicks are going to come out of these. I don't think you can say the Knicks are the team to beat, though.
Get the out of here, Detroit!
I'll get to that in a second. But I don't think you can say that the Knicks are the team to beat anymore, because I think the Pistons have shown that they are the best regular season team in the Eastern Conference. Now, if they go through the playoffs and then we realize, hey, they're just not ready to take this step up that they're going to need to take in order to win a championship, that's one thing. And I do still have major questions about their head coach in the postseason, because I think he's proven to be a pretty lousy postseason head coach. Is why the Cavs fired him. He's an excellent regular season. JB Bickerstaff is an excellent coach, excellent regular season coach. But when it's come to playoffs, they almost got beat by the Cavs by the Magic a couple years ago when he was in Cleveland. We know what the Knicks did to them in the first round. And then, they had some injuries and stuff, but they were not all that competitive against the Celtics a couple years ago, which is why he got fired last year with the Pistons in a series that they all thought they should have won. And so many people were picking the Pistons to make an upset. He made coaching errors throughout that entire series, and he got dog walked, in my opinion, by Tom Thibodeau. This is a different matchup. And I also feel like JB Bickerstaff comes in with maybe a different level of confidence in this matchup, because it's someone that he knows so well. We've heard those stories a million times now. And I'm almost hoping they don't play in the playoffs just simply so we got to hear it over and over again about how close Mike Brown and JB Bickerstaff are, and that at one point in time, Mike Brown was JB Bickerstaff's babysitter. Like, it's the story of, like, hey, do you guys know that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikhil Alexander-Walker are cousins? Hey, do you know that, Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw, they went to the same high school together? Like, these are stories that the announcers will tell you over and over and over again. So, yeah, we know it. And this is becoming one of them. It's the Knicks and Pistons. All their games this year have been on, I think all of them have been on Prime. If not all of them have definitely been on national TV. And it's like every game you hear about this conversation with Mike Brown and the relationship he has with JB Bickerstaff. So I don't know. Maybe that actually gives him a level of confidence, a level of clarity, and clear-headedness going into these games that maybe will be different. But I want to see him coach through a postseason before I jump on the bandwagon that the Pistons are going to win the East. But I do think that you have to shift your focus. You can't just kind of poo-poo this team anymore. They are a very good team. They're balanced in terms of, and they have an identity. And that's the most. I think in some ways that's the most important thing. You have to be able to say, what are we trying to do? What are we hanging our hat on? They're going to hang their hat on defensive physicality, and it's the Cade Cunningham show on offense. But it seems like everyone else is very comfortable in their roles and what they're being asked to do as a support system for this guy. And when he gets got it going like that, it's just going to be tough for them to beat. So the Pistons win in relatively easy fashion. Very curious to think that. Are you guys concerned? Are you in a position where you feel like the Knicks are going to be a problem for this team in terms of when they face them in the playoffs, or rather the Pistons are going to be a problem for this team? You got some comments in the comment section talking about this game. Joseph Murphy. Talent was a big disappointment. I can't believe he's an all-star. Paul Reed even outplayed him. He played him even. Sorry, oh my God. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, give me 1 second. Yeah, Towns wasn't good. It was not a good Towns game. But defensively, he is who he is. He's not a great defensive player. He's going to have lapses. I don't mean that to like dismiss it. Because, I mean, while I'm watching that game, I'm literally cursing at my TV screen at some of the defensive lapses he had. But, I mean, I can't come into the next morning and go ballistic about it because he's on the team. He's going to be on the team the rest of the year. So you're going to have to work around that or hope that he just is more in tune and more intact and connected when they get to the playoffs. I mean, again, I thought he stepped up his defensive game a ton when they played Detroit last year and then when we played the Celtics last year. So you just got to hope that happens. Was not a great game, but I feel like this could easily become a Carl Towns whipping boy game. I don't think it should be. Because like I said, I felt like this was a game where I think the Knicks should have been looking to run through offense through him more. And they didn't. And they seemed very hell-bent on trying to take a ton of threes, which is their offense. But they settled for a lot of threes in the first half when they weren't hitting. And Towns kind of disappeared from the offense for large stretches. And then what happens with him is when he's not involved, then when you start to, okay, now here you go, now it's your time, third quarter, to start doing something, that's when Carl Towns starts doing stupid stuff offensively. And I think that's why it's important to keep him more engaged and more involved. He ends up with 21 and 11. And he actually was a net 0 in this game. So it was a plus minus. He had the best plus minus on the team. So I don't think this is a let's whip on Carl Towns kind of game. I don't think that this is. Paul Reed was really great. It's terrible that he was that great. But I think this was more OG Anunoby was awful. He was a plus one. He actually technically had the best plus minus. But OG was awful on both ends. And Mikal Bridges, man, I mean, what are we doing? 4 for 9, 8 points. Too many of those games from him. Too many of those games where it's like, again, he's like the Knicks' third option. And he seems totally content with just being a guy out there. And what's annoying about those games is you have these guys on the Pistons who, again, are being uberly aggressive as second and third options, and they're making positive impacts or even negative impacts. Like Tobias Harris last night was plus 17, and I think you felt his impact when he was out there on the floor. He shot 4 for 16, but he was aggressive. He had 10 rebounds, so he understood the assignment of missing some guys on his team, and he was aggressive on the glass. He had 5 assists in this game, so he was also moving the ball. Like, we don't get these games enough from Mikal Bridges where maybe your shot's not falling, but still be aggressive, still be active. I mean, he has 8 points and basically nothing else in the stat sheet. 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal, no blocks, no offensive rebounds. It's like he's not there. He's not out there. Like, he's a guy who's essentially brought in to be kind of a super role player. And there are games where, like, he seems totally fine with just being just... You could have told me this was any generic NBA player that had this stat line. I would have said, fine. It shouldn't be a guy who's making $30 million a year. It just shouldn't. I don't... These are the kind of games that he has too often. And this was a game where I think with Cade being that aggressive, Brunson was going to need all the help he could get. And Bridges seemed very fine with being able to be easily guarded. So I hated how he performed last night. He was a -6 in this game. Mitchell Robinson actually ended up having the worst minus in this game, which is sort of shocking. Usually that's not the case. Shamit also had really low minus. He was -13 in this one. But yeah, and then again, and the broadcast said this as well. I thought that we should have seen more Sohan on Cade. Sohan, I know Cade had the signature step back three that then he really flexed, and people were kind of running that play, the kind of like that in the dunk, as like the major highlight from the game. But Sohan, his defense actually he was clearly the most effective guy in terms of bothering him, because he had the quickness to guard him full court, and he had the size and strength to kind of match him in the half court. And then he had fresh legs. He's not like OJ Anunoby, who's playing 30+ minutes a night, coming off a toe injury. Like I thought Sohan or Diawara both should have got a lot more time on him. And then they kind of had this weird split time where Diawara plays 9 minutes. That's not enough time for him to really make an impact. He was -6 because, again, he is in a different lineup. He's then played with Sohan for a little bit. Sohan is -2 in 10 minutes. That's 19 minutes where your backup, let's say combo forward, is giving you 19 minutes and 2 points and 2 rebounds between both of them. Like, that's not, so one of those guys is going to have to play. One of those guys is going to be out of rotation. You can't have both of those guys out there. Neither guy's getting in the rhythm. Neither guys really be able to make the impact that they can on the game if they're playing such short limited minutes. It's got to be Diawara or it's got to be Sohan. It can't be one or the other. I don't know why Mike Brown, I was stunned. I don't know about you. I was stunned when Diawara came out in the second quarter or first quarter. I was like, oh, okay, I guess he is in the rotation. I guess Sohan maybe he's not, and like they're going to play with Diawara for a little while before they maybe eventually go to Sohan, or maybe Sohan's got to earn his minutes through practice. I have no idea. I didn't know what was going on. Then Sohan makes his way to the scorer's table like midway through the second quarter. I was like, oh, I guess they're both in the rotation. But 9 minutes for Diawara or 10 minutes for Sohan, that's not going to be enough for either guy to really make an impact. You got to go with one or the other. And especially in the second half, when Cade started really cooking up, like, where's Sohan? Where's Sohan? And the broadcast was like, where's Sohan? And it took a little too long, I think, for them to make that move over there. Another comment from Joseph Murphy here on X. Cavs and Celtics, you need to get through them. That won't be easy. I assume you're talking about the Knicks, though, to get to the Pistons. Yeah, it won't be easy. I would pick the Knicks to beat both those teams. I still feel like with the Cavs, it's some of the conversation we had with my good friend Dexter Henry, which is, that's not, again, you want to talk about a team that's really struggled in the playoffs, that's one thing. And two, are they the kind of team where you feel confident you're going to get a good James Harden series as the playoffs move on? James Harden is the kind of player where typically as the playoffs move on, he gets worse. So you see him in the second round, and like Dex said, very funny and in a very accurate statement, you better hope this doesn't get to a Game 6 or Game 7, because James Harden, Game 6, Game 7, we know what kind of player he is. So the Cavs are a good team. I'm not totally that afraid of them, really, at this point in time. It'd be a tough series. They're a good team. But I think that the Knicks will handle them. I think the Knicks will handle the Celtics. I'm really not that concerned about the Celtics. Even if Jason Tatum comes back, I don't think that he's going to be the same Jason Tatum. We just seen with the Achilles, it's going to take you another year, really, to get fully right. It's why Kevin Durant didn't play at all when he tore his Achilles with the Warriors and then went to the Nets. He didn't play that first year. And then he came back the next year, and he essentially was Kevin Durant. But that was after a full year of recovery where he gets injured, doesn't play the whole next year, and then comes back. Essentially 2 years. Tatum's trying to do it in 1 year. I don't think he's going to be the same. And the Knicks, they know they lost that one game in Boston. I feel like I've watched these matchups. You don't want to take too much away, but the Knicks just look like a much better team. So I think the standings are going to be a key thing here for the Knicks, man. Because I think, again, I don't think you want to see this team in a second-round matchup if you can avoid it. And the Knicks right now are the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, which would mean that they'll face the Boston Celtics potentially in a second round. And I actually think, I've been saying this a bunch too, I think for the Knicks, you also have to do you have to try to get the number 2 seed. Because I think there's a big difference, in my opinion, from facing the Orlando Magic or Miami Heat in the first round compared to playing the Sixers in the first round. Now, I know Joel Embiid is once again dealing with an injury, which is, kind of part of his story at this point. But I still don't love a Knicks-Sixers first-round matchup. I think that's a war. I think that's another 6-7 game series, potentially, if Embiid is anywhere close to upright. And even if he's not, Tyrese Maxey is also giving the Knicks problems. I just don't think that's a team they want to have to play in the first round. They get the match where I think that could be a 4 or 5 game series. I think that could be pretty easy work for them. I think a Sixers series is a dogfight. So now you're a game and a half back of the Celtics. I think they got to keep an eye on these standings, man. They can't let the Celtics get away from these standings. I think they got to find a way to get to that 2 seed. You get to the 2, you avoid the Sixers in the first round, and then again it gives you home court advantage against potentially the Cavs or the Celtics in the second round, which is going to be crucial because those are the 3 teams that are going to be battling for that number 2 seed at this point. Again, the number 1 seed. 5.5 is not insurmountable, but the way the Pistons are playing and just we see kind of who the regular teams are right now in terms of the teams that are dominating through this whole thing, I think it's pretty fair to say that the Pistons are going to be number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And they've earned it. They've had an awesome regular season. And it's really interesting to see how this Eastern Conference that, again, had a lot of jokes about being, again, this JV league. They have some good teams, man. Like, I mean, you have to consider the Pistons a championship contender at this point in time. I think we're all looking at, it's thunder or bust for a lot of these, for the whole chip. But I think when we talk about all these teams, do the Pistons have a much worse chance to beat the Thunder in a postseason series than the Rockets or the Spurs? I don't think so. I think they're right comparable with those teams, And in the Eastern Conference, they have the best record. So they're 100% going to be a threat moving forward. So they've had a phenomenal season. Shout out to Cade Cunningham for a great performance. Shout out to JB Bickerstaff and the front office for the Pistons. They've really built a real bully in the Eastern Conference, and they're starting to really flex their muscles. We got John Lean saying, healthy Embiid will abuse Cat, go Sixers. Well, that's a big question, is will he actually be healthy? He already isn't. Like, he's been healthy, and I joked about it yesterday. I was like, how do you get injured on your day off? It's like Smokey from Friday, and everybody from Friday, getting that credit. Because, like, how do you get fired on your day off? That's how I felt about Joel Embiid when he came back from the All-Star break, and they're like, he's hurt. I'm like, hurt doing what? It was the All-Star break. Now, apparently, he's been working out, which now is funny. Ironically, we saw, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Drew Hanlon did an interview. I think this was with Kevin O'Connor. Shout out to KOC. He did an interview where he was talking about how Joel Embiid, because of the nature of his injuries, he's essentially almost like not allowed really to work out, or he hasn't been for the last year and a half. Which can't speak to like, should this guy still be playing basketball? It's actually insane. But he actually hasn't been allowed to work out, basically. But the Embiid you saw earlier this year looked really rusty and super washed. So apparently he called Drew Hanlon and said, hey, man, my shot is broken. My mid-range is broken. My 3-ball is broken. We're going to have to maybe hide this from the team, but we got to get some work in because this is terrible. I'm playing terrible. And Drew Hanlon, his trainer, has been working with him, and they started working with his shot and trying to fix his shot and finding the spots and finding things he can do kind of in secret in order to get him right. And then the Embiid you saw right prior to the All-Star break started to look like the old Joel Embiid, which made you think, oh, okay, here we go. Now this is going to be interesting. And it's ironic that for a guy who wasn't allowed to work out during an All-Star break, when you're supposed to just be chilling, during what they called his injury management, he hurt his shin. So now he has a shin issue. They say he's going to be on his way back, and I guess they're not super concerned. But how are you rehabbing one injury and then you come up with another injury? I don't know. So we can say, oh, healthy Embiid is going to abuse Cat. Find me a healthy Embiid in the postseason. And John Lean saying that he won't be healthy, sadly. Yeah, I think that's why I had to put that out there. Said here, he even got hurt. I gotta read this comment. He even got hurt in my first season NBA 2K during the midseason tournament. LOL. Yeah, I mean, even 2K knows. And I told you guys, I think I said this before. I did what I'd always do when the Knicks take a bad loss. I went on NBA 2K and tried to figure this thing out. So I had the Knicks versus Pistons last night. I tried to play. I was too tired to actually really play the game. But I was getting smoked in that game too. They're a tough matchup, man. They're a tough matchup for the Knicks, and the Pistons are a really good team. They beat the Knicks to take care of business in this one. So we'll see how the Knicks respond. Knicks got the Rockets on Saturday night. I think this would be a good game for the Knicks. They're going to come against Burning Man, Kevin Durant, coming to the Garden. He usually takes these matchups very personally, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go. And he had a good game last night for the Hornets and hit a go-ahead shot or kind of a game-clinching shot last night in Charlotte against a game Hornets team that, again, is becoming a lot more pesky. Kevin Durant had 35 points last night, so matched his KD Trey 5 name on X. So this will be a good game. This will be a good game for the Knicks in terms of, like, can you bounce back? Another good team coming in here. Motivated superstar. I think we're going to I don't want to say learn about the team, but I just think it's a good kind of character game and see how they respond on a national TV platform at home with another opponent that I expect to be extremely highly motivated. It's EJ Stewart here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Thank you guys for rocking with me live on X, EJ_Stewart. Shout out to Joseph Murphy for watching me on X. Also streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. You can subscribe to the channel. Just go to NU Generation Media. And, of course, streaming live on IG Live. Watch me on IG and follow me on Instagram, ActionEJ. I want to move forward here. And this is something I had in the talk yesterday. We didn't get to it, but I want to get to it here. So, Rich Paul, who actually I believe used to be the agent for Anthony Edwards, was on his podcast yesterday. And he has a podcast with Max Kellerman. We actually played several clips from this podcast. Probably more than I probably feel comfortable with, to be honest, but whatever, we're here now. This is the world we're living in. And they went into a conversation about the best guys in the NBA. And when talking about this, I was actually a little surprised, but Rich Paul is making the case that guy right now is actually Anthony Edwards.
I think Anthony Edwards is the best player in our league today.
Did you just say Anthony Edwards is the best player in the NBA?
He's the best player in the NBA, yeah.
Okay, so how is that the case? Here's Rich Paul.
You can't watch a game on any given night against anybody and look at that game and say, oh, that person is better than Anthony Edwards.
Even Jokic?
No.
Jokic is offensively.
No. I love Jokic. No question about it. But no. If you say I'm taking Jokic, I'd say, okay, give me Anthony Edwards.
I don't agree with that assessment. I think you can watch a game and see the guy better on the floor. In fact, I watched, how long was the Western Conference Finals last year? 5 games? I watched 5 games during the Western Conference Finals, and I said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is better than Anthony Edwards. I don't think it actually was that hard. Now, we had a whole offseason, now we're in a new season. If you want to be the case that Anthony Edwards is better now, and he's a great player. He's one of the top 5 or 6 players in the NBA. That I have no problem saying. But in terms of the best players in the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to me is the best player in the NBA. And maybe you feel like it's a default answer because he's on the team that won the championship. He's the reigning MVP. But the guy I see when I watch that looks most unstoppable offensively, and maybe we talked about the foul baiting yesterday. You want to say, oh, well, he foul bets and all stuff. All right, well, that's part of basketball. That's part of the game. The guy to me that looks most unstoppable and hardest to guard in the NBA to me looks like it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Ant-Man's great. Ant-Man has more athleticism. Ant-Man can play above the rim. But Shai, I think, is better. And I also agree with Max. I think Jokic is better too. Now, finding me multiple guys after those guys is a little tricky. I think he could very well be number 3. I think now you're talking about Luka Doncic. You're talking about, again, maybe now we're talking about Cade Cunningham. We're starting to get, there's not too many names after that. Giannis, Victor Wembanyama, like those are some other guys that I would also consider. I think off rip, if you're telling me who are guys better than Ant-Man, I would first start with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. Both of those guys also, to me, impact the game beyond just scoring. Where the last phase of Ant-Man's game that I think he's still trying to figure out, and it's why they got dominated in the postseason last year, is how do I make my teammates better? He only averages 3.7 assists. He's kind of like an old school scoring guard, old school shooting guard off the ball. But what we see now with those guys, whether you're a point guard or a shooting guard or a wing guy, like so much attention gets drawn to you with how teams cover these guys that you need to be able to also be a high assist guy if you're going to have that much volume. For example, Jaylen Brown, who's a small forward and plays even some small ball 4, is averaging almost 5 assists a game. Donovan Mitchell is averaging 6 assists a game. I mentioned Cade Cunningham is averaging almost 10 assists. Denny Avdia for the Portland Trailblazers is averaging almost 7 assists. Devin Booker averages 6 assists. Like, those guys understand still. They get their shots, but they also know how to get other guys easy looks and other guys into a rhythm. Anthony Edwards is averaging 3.7 assists per game at this point in the NBA season. For a guy who shoots as much as he does and a guy who gets that much volume and that much usage, I think if you're going to get that much usage, I need to also find opportunities for other guys to get shots in that and make other guys better. So I think in some ways what Rich is saying, like, I think if you want to say, if you think he's the best scorer, I would still argue Shea, but that I could maybe see a little bit more. I don't think you could say he's the best all-around player because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander averages 6 assists a game. Shea Gilgeous is a willing passer. You're getting your bang for your buck with Shea for the usage because you're getting a higher field goal percentage. He's shooting 55% compared to Anthony Edwards shooting 49%. They're about the same from 3, though Shea is shooting, almost half the amount of threes that Anthony Edwards is shooting per game. But also Shea's getting to the free throw line more. So he's doing it on less attempts. He's averaging more points, 31.8 to Anthony Edwards 29.3. But he's doing it on 19.7 field goal attempts while Anthony Edwards is doing it on 20.4 field goal attempts. And he's giving you more assists. And he's getting to the free throw line more. He's a better player. I'm sorry, he's a better player. And it's not about, I know, and I don't think that it's necessarily like, oh, we got to root for the American and whatever. He's a better player right now. Now, he'll have an opportunity to prove it when we get to the postseason. We can talk about whether or not, the Timberwolves have a shot and Anthony Edwards can get them over the hump and get to the finals. They've had 2 conference finals appearances. Anthony Edwards is a superstar player. No question about that. I think that Ant-Man is probably somewhere between 3 and 6 if we're talking about the best players. I think you're talking about Jokic and Shea at 1 and 2. I would put the order there, but I'd have Shea 1, Jokic 2. Now I think you're putting them in the class again with Wembanyama, and some of these other stars that are in the NBA in terms of where he lands there. He's a great player. But I didn't see that. I didn't see this as, and when I think about the best players in the league, I actually, not that I don't think about Ant-Man, but I don't think of him as the best player. Who do you guys think is the best player in the NBA? I'd love to see in the chat. Who you guys think? My allergies are going crazy. I don't know if I told you guys this story. Because again, I always say like this is the most authentic version of myself. So you guys may notice that I may sound in the morning a lot more nasally than I do in the evening. I had a physical last fall, so this past fall. So I had a physical. I didn't even know they were going to do this, but I guess when you take physicals now, they also can do allergy tests. So when they do all your blood work, I got my blood work done, and my doctor tells me, "Do you know you're allergic to dogs?" I'm like, "What?" So yeah, you have a high allergic reaction to dogs, according to these records here. And as you guys know, or as you guys have heard, because you've probably heard her in the background, I have this lovely dog. Well, actually, I meant to show Manny yesterday. Manny was on the show last night. I didn't post a podcast yet, but that'll be up. Shout out to Manny. Again, it's on the YouTube, though. I have this lovely dog by the name of Lita. I think this is her. Yeah, let's show Lita. There you go. Look at that little baby. Look at that little baby. She's a cute little baby. Yeah, look at that little doggy. Oh my God, she's the best. She's just a little baby. Look at her. She's just a little baby. Anyway. You may notice I'm a little nasally, and I learned that I'm allergic to dogs, even though I'm the owner of this like very beautiful, cute little doggy. So it's like, all right, well, what do you do? Obviously, we're not getting rid of Lita. Lita's here to stay forever. So I end up, I have to take a lot of allergy medicine in order to get through days most of the time. That's essentially what I have to do until I eventually probably have to start getting allergy shots. And my allergies are always worse in the morning. It's hard to know why. She doesn't even sleep us in the bed anymore, so it's not even like she's with us. She is with us for the last hour of our sleep because she has this random tick where she wakes up at 6:30 and just barks until someone takes her out of her crate. So from like 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock before I wake up, she's with me. But that shouldn't be enough for me when I'm so super nasally or whatever. But it's always worse in the morning. I take a Claritin every day to get through my day. Not Claritin. What's the other one? Zyrtec to get through the days. Typically they work, and that's why usually during the evening I'm mostly fine. I don't have sneezing or stuffy issues. But if you hear me nasally and tissues and stuff, a lot of it's because I'm still dealing with trying to be a dog owner who's allergic to dogs. But look at Lita. That's the beautiful baby. If you have never seen her, though I know you've heard her in the background, you're probably thinking, how does this small little dog have this big ass bark? We ask this question every day. We still don't know how, where this has happened, but she is a darling. Shout out to my future brother-in-law, Christian. He actually took this picture. Christian's a photographer. Follow him, Action Lynch. He is a dope-ass photographer. He shoots shows, he was at New York Fashion Week this past week. That's why he was here. He took this picture of Lita here at the apartment. And she's a lovely doggy. But unfortunately, because she's so lovely, she's going nowhere. And me being a dog owner who then learned he has a dog allergy, I have this life now. Because I went last year, like allergy season was the worst. And then summer came. I still felt like I had these bad allergies. And then fall came, and I was like, I still have allergies. And I'm like, why do I have allergies into the fall? This doesn't make any sense. I was super confused. And it always felt like I would leave and go to work and feel fine, and I'd come back home, and it'd always be around the evening where I would feel at the worst. I started taking allergy medicine, and I felt better, so I was all right. But then I just kept taking it all throughout the summer and fall. I'm like, it's fall. Why am I still taking allergy medicine? But it's the only thing that's giving me any kind of relief. And I learned I have the dog allergy, and I live with a dog. So apologies if I sound nasally, or if there are mornings where I'm like super like trying to like wipe my nose or whatever. It's just the nature of this beast. And again, I'm not going to quit 40 days and 40 nights because I'm sniffly in the morning. I'm just going to power through it. But that's my lovely dog, Leah. She's the best. As you probably heard her just bark just now. Maybe she heard me. I don't know. And Andrea said, like, you got to find a way to pick her up and like show her to the audience. She is very squeamish, like in terms of like if you grab her, she will just like wrestle her way out of your hands. So I feel like that might not go very well considering the amount of wires and equipment that are here. But hopefully at some point in time, we will find a way to have a live appearance for Lita on 40 Days and 40 Nights. I hope that ends up working out. But who's the best player in the NBA? Who do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you guys. Again, I'm going Shea. I think, you know what? Maybe we'll do it later. This always happens where I talk about this. Like, hey, let's do a list. We did the quarterbacks. Maybe later I'll try to do a top 10 current players in the NBA ranking later today. I'll do that. And maybe I'll ask Kendall to give me, like how he thinks of my list. But my instinct tells me Jokic and Shea haven't moved off the 1 and 2 spot. Who you have at 1 and 2, you can argue with. And I can see both sides. I think those guys are 1 and 2 right now. But Ant-Man's a great player. Super great player. I heard this and part of me wondered if Rich Paul is trying to get back in Ant-Man's graces to hopefully rep him again. Because that felt like a miss. Oh, snap. I realized it wasn't on IG Live. Whoops. Let me make sure I hit that. Because I wonder why my viewer count was a little lower than normal today. So shout out to IG. Now I'm on IG Live. Apologies. Insert audience is probably like, we want to hear these Knicks takes, so I missed it. I'm sorry. I know I don't know. I was not on live now, but I am live now on IG Live. But yeah, I think that you're talking about Jokic and Shea off the 1 and 2 line, and then you're going to figure out who the next guy is. It's going to be a while for you to figure out who that next person is, I think. Again, it's DJ Stewart. 40 days, 40 nights. Rich Paul saying Anthony Edwards is the best player in the NBA. I'm leaning more Shea, and I pick Jokic ahead of him as well. Rob Dre in chat. Need Lead Alive, maybe on the 24-hour marathon. Shout out to Bob Custer. Yes, Bob, always in the chat. Who thinks I should not do a 24-hour live show? Because yesterday I did 3 shows in a day. 2, the normal live streams I do for 40 days and 40 nights, 8 a.m., 6 p.m. Before I did either of those, I did a midnight to 5 a.m. show on WFAN. Which you may also still be able to get on the Odyssey app. Sometimes the Odyssey app's a little weird. Like sometimes they say, oh, it's only 24 hours, but I've seen times where it's actually much longer. So you actually may still be able to rewind that if you want to listen to it. But I was on midnight to 5, not this morning, but the previous morning. And people were like, this is an incredible feat. Like you need to do something else now that you've done this. Because not only was that like, 3 shows in a, I guess a 24-hour span, but it's much less actually, 12 to 5, and then I finished the last show last night at around 7:30. So that's really more like a 3 show in a 18-hour stretch, which also that was a 5 show in a 35-hour stretch if you count the previous day. So crazy. So one of the people in the comment, one of the loyal viewers in the chat said that I need to do a 24-hour live show now, since I've shown that I can do 5 shows in 36 hours and 3 shows in 18 hours. And I said there's no shot in hell I'm doing a 24-hour live show, but they're gonna push me to make this happen. Lita, yeah, I mean, if that would happen, Lita would have to be a part of that, right? Like she wouldn't know. She'd have to be. I'd have to walk her. I'd have to do all those different things. That actually brings me to something though. Random thought, which is what this show is about, and the show is for. Yes, it's sports takes. Yes, it's other takes on culture, but also a lot of it's just like random conversations, random rants I have. How does the live streaming work when it comes to these like streamers? Like, I'm sure you've seen these folks, like they just go around and just have people like following them in their life. They just like one streamer had Chris Paul, like some guy was in Chris Paul's house over the All-Star weekend, and they'll stream for like hours and hours and hours. I'm like, how do they get the internet connection? How do they go live? Like, I don't understand this. These people are on Kick.com, I think that's the app I think where most people will stream. I guess some of them will also be on Twitch. But they got crystal clear resolution, even though they're outside. And I know you're saying, EJ, we have 5G now. But I'm like, all right, all these guys have unlimited service where they can do this. They have the strength to have a live stream show for sometimes. Some people have done 24 hours where they're leaving their house, coming back, and they don't break up their live stream. I gotta figure out how this works, because I don't quite get it. It's been something that's weird. As someone who's worked in television, where going live on television is a whole big operation sometimes, especially from remote locations, I'm wondering how like Aiden Ross is able to do it, or how Academics is able to do it in a way where, again, they don't lose service, they don't lose resolution, they don't lose anything. Again, they're able to drive, they're able to go. Like, I understand when you're sitting at your crib and doing those 24-hour services. I mean, I can do that. That I get. When I watch these guys are doing live streams from all different places, I'm like, how are they live right now? There's some people, again, they do live stream, and kids, again, we were talking about the other day where kids are just, all they do is watch these people just live their lives, essentially. How are they doing this? I'd love to know. I don't know how to get it done. I definitely sound like old man who doesn't know crap, but maybe that's who I am at this point in time. I need to embrace that. But I would love to know if you guys know how they're doing it. I would love to know. Not that I want to do it, because that's not happening. But I watch these guys, and someone who like is big into, I'm just gonna fix my mic because my mic is so weird. But as someone who's like big into like cameras and audio equipment and technology, like this has been the one thing I've seen that's become super popular in media, and I haven't quite figured out how they're all doing this. So if you have the answers, let me know. I'm just more out of curiosity than anything else. By the way, before I continue on, I actually don't know if this is a shout out, but I at least mention him, because I made sure to get this drop.
Get the out of here, Detroit!
In part because, of course, that was kind of one of the famous drops from the Maggie and Perloff show, because speaking of, this was not live, but speaking of filming yourself, during the last 30 seconds of the Knicks-Pistons playoff game, Game 6, I filmed my reaction to the final possession with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson with the ball. And what ended up happening was, of course, Jalen Brunson hitting the game winner that of course sealed the win and got them out of there. And Andrew Kaplan, who is a A+ troll, as I announced that I was going to be talking about Cade Cunningham today, made sure to have this video ready, which you can't hear, but basically you don't have to hear it, because this what I'm saying in this is,
get the out of here, Detroit!
So I think Cap, knowing that I got after the Pistons and their fans a little bit last year, trolling me this morning, after the Pistons got the Knicks out of here. They got the Knicks staff out of here last night with how they performed. So shout out to Andrew Kaplan, the man behind the logo, not a logo, but what I consider kind of like the album cover of the 40 Days and 40 Nights, which is me in like a pseudo movie poster, similar to the poster that they had for the movie 40 Days and 40 Nights, which I still have not watched yet. I approached this to Bogish, and Bogish also said that, you know, it's probably a bad look that I didn't watch it. He actually suggested that I should watch the movie and give a review, and he's right. Maybe that's an assignment I'll try to do this weekend. I have a couple of things to do, but I'm not hosting on The Fan, at least as of not right now that I know of. So I don't have any shows this weekend. I have no real set plans. I have plans for next weekend, Elimination Chamber, but nothing else. This could be a good weekend to find 40 Days and 40 Nights on streaming and watch it. What bothers me, though, is I'm one of these idiots that has way too many streaming services. Because I think if you're smart, you start to pare this down and realize, hey, I'm paying. And I'm also someone who pays for cable. Well, actually, I don't pay for cable. I have cable for free. That's a long story. And it's not illegal. It's just, it was given to me as package for this new apartment. Kind of mention myself, I say, like, oh, it's a long story why I have cable free. You're probably like, what is that story? Sounds like we need to call the feds or call the police. No, I've totally up aboard part of my apartment deal when I got this apartment was that I get free cable and internet for a year, which is sweet. It'd be nice if this internet didn't crap out during times where I'm live streaming, but otherwise it's been sweet. But I'm one of these dopes that still pays for a ton of these streaming services. So Max, ESPN Unlimited, because I have to watch wrestling, Disney Plus, because of Marvel, Peacock still, primarily not for Andrea, for Bravo, though WWE still also does Saturday Night Main Event on Peacock. Prime. What else we got? I have NFL Plus. Is there anything else I don't have? Paramount Plus is a app that we have amongst the family. I gotta pare down these apps because I'm now one of these dopes who has all these services, and you would think that, well, you might as well just have cable if you're gonna have all these services. But the one thing that bothers me is there are so many movies that aren't on anything. And that's something we gotta fix. Like, between all these conglomerates, all these mergers, all these people linking up to combine libraries. Like, I want to Google right now, like, is 40 Days and 40 Nights, is it actually on streaming? For those older movies, a lot of them aren't anywhere. Because there'll be a random movie I want to watch and I can't find it. It should be places where, like, they would exist. Like, a great example. I remember, I think he just got out of prison. Shout out to Sebastian Telfair. I hope he's doing well. I guess a documentary was coming out about Sebastian Telfair's life, and I mentioned it on Maggie and Perloff, I think. And it showed essentially that he essentially was living back in, you know, the projects in Brooklyn. This was someone who went to the NBA, who was a first-round draft pick, and had trouble with the law. Obviously, no longer in the NBA, and his NBA career is rather short. And it showed that he was back to living in public housing, and it was very sad. I didn't even want to watch to watch the trailer. Like, people kept talking about how sad it was. I was like, I can't even watch this because Sebastian Telfair was him when I was a kid. Like, he was in high school. Like, his senior year was essentially my like 8th grade, 7th grade year. I think it was somewhere around there. And if you played basketball growing up here in New York City, he was the guy you were trying to be. He was the guy you wanted to model your game after, your future after. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in his senior year. He broke all these New York City records. And he almost seemed like, and I think you kind of can say, and he wasn't, but he was. Because there have been other great New York City guards. But when we think about, like, whatever, I don't want to call it a caricature, but like whatever you think of as the stereotypical, and even that feels like, because those are negative conversations, there's nothing negative about what I'm saying about Sebastian. But whatever you think of when you think of like the New York City playground legend guard, he seemed to be like the last samurai, so to speak, of that cultural influence, that kind of game, that backstory of, living in public housing in Coney Island, trying to make it just like his cousin Stephon Marbury did. And again, if you're a kid that plays basketball in New York City, this is who you wanted to be. He was him. An absolutely great player, somebody that was 1,000% dedicated to their grind and would play anywhere, play anybody, played at Rucker, played at all of the street ball tournaments. Like, he was, again, in some ways the last samurai for what became, like, there were other great guards that came out after him, right? I mean, I played against Kemba Walker and so many other guys that got to the league and been stars or been great college players. But that element, that street ball element, that road to rags to riches element, we've seen when, like, in how basketball is played now, it's very different. Like, it's becoming more. It's not a country club sport. It's not like golf or baseball yet, but it's moving in that direction. Which is why when you see a lot of the guys in the NBA, a lot of these guys are sons of former players or parents that are affluent. Like, that's becoming a reality now, because those parents have the resources to get these kids to play in travel tournaments and play in showcases, very similar to what we talk about with the issues with baseball. So it's a very different star now that's entering the NBA. It's not the guys who are trying to get it out the mud, so to speak. We have some of those guys that still exist, but basketball's weeding those guys out when you get to the college and even higher high school level. A lot of these kids are getting identified very early on, so even if they do have a tough story, they're getting linked up with some high school coach or some high school program that's a national program, and they're leaving their homes to go play high school basketball in Florida or in Texas or in California, and they're living in dorms, or they're living with coaches or other kids' parents. Like, it's just a different game. So Bassie was like, again, in some ways we didn't know this at the time, but he kind of was like the last samurai of that. You could argue maybe Lance Stevenson was, but I would say in terms of influence, I feel like Sebastian Telfair was. So to hear this story about how now he's back in the projects, and we had already known all the legal issues he had. He in and out of courthouses because of various different, seemingly like bizarre kind of like non-violent crimes. It wasn't like he may have had a domestic issue. I don't remember, but a lot of it seemed more like gun charges where he's trying to get a gun through an airport, or he's riding around with a gun that's not registered. It seemed to be kind of those kind of violations mostly, and obviously his career petered out. I really didn't know what he was doing. But then I saw this documentary coming out about him where he's living in the projects, and I said, I can't even watch this. I can't watch this. He's too influential to just like New York City. He's too much of like what basketball means to New York kids growing up that are my age. I mean, I'm kids now. Like, I can't even watch this. This guy had an ESPN documentary, which is why I'm telling this story. They made an ESPN documentary about this guy, and now he's living back in the projects that they showed him living in 20 years ago. I cannot watch this. I didn't watch the trailer. I literally just said, I cannot watch. I think I posted it. I think I already retweeted it and said, I cannot watch this trailer. So I said, you know what? I want to go. Because I was telling Andrea about the story. Andrea doesn't know anything about sports. And I love not only telling her about sports, but I also like teaching her about like New York City culture things. So I was just trying to tell her about like, this wasn't just even a basketball story. Sebastian Telfair was just a New York City story. And she loves New York City, having now lived here for about 12, 13, well, not more than that, probably 15 years now at this point. So I was trying to explain to her who Sebastian Telfair was. And I said, there's a documentary about him from ESPN, and it's great. And it shows like him as a high school kid going to class, running on the beaches in Coney Island, running the stairs of his project apartment, and then being mic'd up for games where he's playing through ankle injury. It's a great documentary, Through the Fire. And I was like, we should watch it. I was like, we gotta watch this. This was a great documentary. And she was like, yeah, I'm down to watch it. It's nowhere. ESPN has a streaming service, and I don't mean this to be a diss on ESPN because it's a diss on everybody, because all these streaming services and all the libraries they have that they don't give us. ESPN literally has a streaming service where they're asking you, unless you have Time Warner or DirecTV or a few other outlets, to pay $30 a month for not only all the games they have and then wrestling, but also their library of documentaries and movies. Why is this not on there? It's ESPN. It's an ESPN documentary. It was directed and produced by Jonathan Hawk, who's a famous, director and documentary filmmaker. But it came out on ESPN. It's ESPN Films. Why is it on ESPN? I could not believe it because I was like, oh, let's watch it, and then I couldn't find it. I was like, this is not on ESPN. It's not on any streaming services. I think, I'm not 100% sure. I think I might have gotten just a couple of months ago one of the last Blu-ray DVDs of Through the Fire, the Sebastian Telfair. I bought it. I just bought it off rip because I was like, I feel like I should have this, but B, I want to watch it. But C, also, like, this is insane that they don't have this. And if Sebastian gets any kind of, I have no idea. This could be money that's going to ESPN or money going to Jonathan Hawk. But if he gets any kind of cut from this and that helps him, I'm gonna give him this bread, this $5. It wasn't a lot. It was like $7, $8, something like that. I'll give him the $7, $8. If he gets $1 from that, if that's the best way I can help him today, I will help him. Because it's sad what's happened to him. But I say that to say, why are these things not on streaming? How is this not on streaming? There's so many movies I'll say, oh, let me go watch this movie. I thought the other day, I was like, I saw a tweet that was out that said, because we all talk, DC is known to have like these great animated movies, and they had a stretch where it was just elite. Justice League, Doom, Batman Under the Red Hood. They had a stretch from about 08, 09 to like 2013 where they were just dropping heat. Phenomenal movies. Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths. I mean, just awesome, awesome stories. And then they switched it up, and then it kind of got not that great when they tried to make it a combined universe. That wasn't that great. And they did like remakes of books that were terrible. Like the books were great, the movies were terrible. Like Batman Hush was not terrible, but not a great movie. Killing Joke apparently is so bad I won't watch it. It's that terrible apparently. But like, I say all this to say, these are all movies that should be in your library. You produce them. I'm paying you $10, $15, $20, $30 a month. You should have these movies. The fact that you don't have them and you're making me still buy DVDs in order to get them, it's crazy. In this tweet that came up that I was talking about, they were showing like all these Marvel movies. Because we kind of forgot how lit Marvel animated movies was at that time too. DC, they probably were better, but Marvel had a couple of bangers. Those Ultimate Avenger movies, they had a Next Avenger movie that was banging. They had an Iron Man movie that was banging. And then they had a Hulk versus movie. It was a two-parter. One was Hulk versus Wolverine, Hulk versus Thor. Hulk versus Thor was kind of meh. Hulk versus Wolverine, I think, is still one of the best animated movies ever done. Ever. It is awesome. And again, I'm like, please tell me this is on streaming somewhere. It's nowhere. I don't know if you can even buy that DVD. I couldn't find it. Why are these things not on streaming? What is going on? We're paying all this money and these movies are just in the ether. You can't find them. And when I bought that Through the Fire documentary for Sebastian Telfair a couple months ago, it said only few available, like 3 or 4 left, whatever, from Amazon. That's why I said, oh my God, I gotta buy this right now. Otherwise I might not have any access to this movie. Like, these movies they're just gone. They're absolutely gone. So I go to 40 Days and 40 Nights right now, so I'm like, is this even on streaming? It should in theory, but I don't know if it is. According to Google, as I'm watching this right now, it appears that it's on streaming. It appears that it's on something called Pluto TV. I do not have that. It says it's on Paramount Plus, which is good. Okay, I do have Paramount Plus subscription. But see, you see these little things though, it says subscription, but then there's something there. Sometimes that means it's a subscription, but I'm trying to click on to see what this means. Yeah, this is a subscription if you have Hulu, but you got Paramount Plus with Showtime, then you can watch it, which is like, what? There's so many freaking conglomerates. How do you even figure, what does that even mean? You have Hulu with Paramount Plus that also has Showtime, then you can watch this movie. You can't even figure out what this stuff means anymore. I don't even know what that means. But this is a movie that is like relatively popular. Like, I feel like you should be able to watch. Why is this so hard to find? Now, luckily, again, I have Paramount Plus. And it seems like from what I can see, As long as you have Paramount Plus subscription, you can watch this. But there are a ton of movies that are out there that you can watch it, but you got to have this plus the premium version plus some other streaming service, and then you can watch this movie. And there are a lot of movies that just there's none. There's no way to watch it. They're not on anything. Or again, pay for the Amazon DVD version. And it is one of the things that bothers me the most right now when it comes to things that shouldn't bother people that bother me. It bothers me a ton. Because I have become an absolute, like, I'm all in on the streaming. I pay for all the streaming services. It's killing my wallet, but this is where we're at. I mean, if I pay for cable, my wallet's being killed anyway. So what difference does it make? The way I see it. I want to be able to watch what I want to watch. So I'm here. I'm here for you guys. Help me out. I should not be able to have no access to Hulk versus an animated movie that was on previous streaming services in the past, and now it's nowhere to be found. There's no way to watch this movie. There's no way to watch Through the Fire unless you buy the DVD. None. These things are owned by conglomerates that have libraries on streaming. ESPN has a library of documentaries. Why isn't Through the Fire on there? Hulk versus is owned by Marvel. Why? You have Disney Plus. Why isn't it on there? Or if it's not on Disney Plus, sell it to somebody else. Put it on Amazon. Put it somewhere. Peacock. It drives me insane. Completely insane. John Lean telling me Pluto's free. I've never heard of Pluto. I'm not saying that you're wrong, or not saying that it seems like it is free from what I saw just when I Googled that. But this is one I've never heard of. I've never heard of Pluto until today. I am today years old when I learned that there's a streaming service called Pluto. Shout out to Pluto. I don't know who you are. You know, like Mariah Carey said, I don't know her. I don't know her. But shout out to them, I guess. Because they have 48 before the next movie. So it is on Paramount. I do have Paramount, so I guess I can watch it. But, yeah, this whole story kind of ran away from me because I was talking about DVDs and Sebastian Telfair. But he was him, man. Bob Custer in the chat. YouTube Premium has a bunch of movies on for free. Yeah, I know, but I don't have YouTube Premium. That's one of the few I don't have, YouTube Premium. It's like, I gotta buy this too? I know, YouTube, whenever I Google these movies, I'm trying to find them, they always seem to be on YouTube. But it's like, you gotta pay for the premium. I'm like, where, now YouTube's here now? I know they have YouTube TV, and my parents have YouTube TV. I don't know if they have premium. I think my brothers have premium. But I'm like, all right, now I gotta pay for premium? Like, what's going on, man? How much money they trying to steal from me? They want all of it. They want all of it. PR Beast said the Sebastian Telfair Sports Illustrated cover was iconic. I think that is one of their greatest covers. Sebastian Telfair didn't become the star they hoped he would have became. So, like, I don't know how much is going to get remembered, but that backdrop of the Coney Island boardwalk, him dribbling the basketball, $1 million smile, it is awesome. It's an awesome, and the great thing about the documentary, which is super cool, and this a massive shout out to Sebastian Telfair, by the way. I didn't think we spent this much time on him on a random Friday, but I'm glad we did, because again, he was a star, and it's unfortunate what's happened to him and in his career. And on a lot of it, he's dealt with mental health issues as well. I know I think he may have talked about his battle with bipolarism. I think that was something that he had revealed. If he didn't, apologies, but I'm like pretty sure that he talked about that. So shout out to him. I do hope he is doing well. I know he is out of prison now because TMZ talked to him recently. But no, this cover with the backdrop, I'm pulling it up right now. This was one of the best covers they did. I wish I had a higher resolution picture of it, but the Coney Island backdrop, him, I almost thought it was Photoshopped because I was like, how did they do that? We realize we see the documentary, he's on a trampoline and then he's on the beach and it's winter, so it's super cold, he's freezing. But him in the Lincoln jersey, Watch Me Now, $1 million smile, an awesome cover. Again, I think one of the best covers they've ever done. Whoever came up with that concept, it was a great idea because you could take 1 million pictures on the boardwalk with the idea to have him leaping in the air from the beach so you can see the entire boardwalk and see also the buildings in Coney Island in the background. Phenomenal cover. Definitely, again, like I said, one of my favorite covers, one of the best ones they've done. So I do have the movie. I do gotta watch it, but so I will have an opportunity because this at least is one of the movies that is on streaming, I will have the opportunity to watch 40 Days and 40 Nights without having to pay for something. Because I'll be honest, if I had to pay for something, I don't think I would have done it. I'm like, sorry, I can't do it. And I realize now, I guess, now I'm remembering that it was on streaming because when I pulled together my the open that I play every show, some of those clips are from YouTube, some of those clips I think I also pulled from the movie. I think I saw that it was on streaming. So maybe I'll try to watch it this weekend. I got nothing to do. Maybe I'll give you guys a review. This movie's got nothing to do with anything I do in the show because I believe from me watching these clips in the trailers and then the little small things I watched when I was getting the clips for the movie is essentially a guy who is trying to see if he can go 40 days and 40 nights without sex. I couldn't figure out exactly like what the goal of this was. Like I believe it was Lent. I think there's like a religious aspect to it, but I don't know what he's supposed to gain out of not doing it. I also don't know like what is like the actual like plot of the movie beyond that. I have a little trouble figuring that out when I was looking at the trailer, but it feels very early 2000s, which because that was when this movie came out. Like the movies American Pie and Road Trip, like all those movies kind of had the same kind of ilk. I saw someone put a tweet that had American Pie, not American Pie, Road Trip and Euro Trip, and said this is peak white culture right here. And I can't deny, those movies was lit. Those movies was lit, but it was it was a certain lens they were looking at America at that time. It was very anti-establishment. It was very sexual, in your face. It was definitely a different time. But I gotta find a way to watch 40 Days and 40 Nights. It's a 2002 film, so I would have been 11 years old. So parents definitely would have not let me watch this movie at 11 years old. Probably maybe would have found a way to watch it with my friends who were, who were degenerates. But yeah, not a movie I would have watched. Josh Hartnett is the lead in this movie. Has he been in anything good like since then? Oh, he was in Fight or Flight. I don't know. Was that good? He's in Pearl Harbor. Okay, that's something. Doesn't feel like he's been in a lot of great stuff since. It seems like the films he's most known for are Halloween, H20, 20 years later, The Faculty, The Virgin, Suicides. I mentioned Pearl Harbor. He's also in Black Hawk Down and 40 Days and 40 Nights. Oh, he's in Oppenheimer. Oh, so apparently this guy's had a career of resurgence, apparently. Because he was Ernest Lawrence in Oppenheimer. And then he was a serial killer in the movie Trap. So shout out to Josh Hartnett. He's the lead of this movie. I gotta find a way to watch this movie at some point in time. Another comment here from Bob. So much of how a movie is released and posted has to do with licensing. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. Yeah, I know. And I'm not saying that like I'm being a jerk. Like, yeah, I know. It sucks, man. It drives me crazy. Drives me completely crazy. Because see, people will own rights, but they won't put everything on their library because they feel like, well, this doesn't actually help our library or bring more people to our service. So let's see if we can sell this to Amazon or sell this to one of these places. That's why you can find like Marvel movies on Peacock, or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is on Disney Plus and on Peacock, on other places, or Netflix, because Sony's like, well, we don't have a streaming service, so let's just give this here or give that there. That's a lot of the game for a lot of this stuff. I'm enjoying you guys in the chat today, so I'm giving you guys a lot of time today. So The Faculty was good. 30 Days of Night is good too. Other movies that Hartnett was in. He was in Oppenheimer, which John Lee mentioned, which I also just mentioned. He also said he was great in Trap, but the movie stunk. Okay. It looks like he also did an interview not too long ago on The Tonight Show. So that was May of 2025. So he's working. That's good to know. It doesn't seem like anyone else in this movie's had a real career since. I guess the female lead is someone named Shannon Sossaman. It doesn't seem like she's really done much since then. There's also a Vanessa Shaw. It's going to bring me to one of the comments I want to bring up. Who's in Hocus Pocus. ironically. That's a big jump. They go from Hocus Pocus to 40 Days and 40 Nights. But Vanessa Shaw was in this movie. It doesn't seem like she's had a big break really since. Who else is in this movie? Some guy named Paolo Costanzo. Oh, he maybe has done a little more. He's been in Royal Pains, the TV show. He was in Designated Survivor, so he seems to have done some work, Canadian actor. But, yeah, these are not big names. Apparently Maggie Gyllenhaal's in this movie. That's surprising. She's the biggest person in this movie, but she's kind of lower on the totem pole when it comes to the cast of this movie. But Maggie Gyllenhaal's in this movie? That's crazy. She's definitely the biggest star of the people that were in this movie. Let me make sure that's accurate. But yeah, and if Google, unless Google's lying to me, Maggie Gyllenhaal is in this movie. And she's the only other actor besides Josh that I recognize. In terms of names, at least. So I'll give you guys a review. I'll watch it at some point. Maybe over the weekend. That'll be a good one to watch. Well, the Olympics is wrapping up. Excited about the Olympics, too. I haven't watched enough. Times of the day have been weird. I really hate, it's a world sport, but I kind of hate when the Europe time, I think, is like the worst. I almost prefer, I know people hate Asia. They don't hate Asia. They hate the Asian time zones for the Olympics. I actually like them because to me, I'd rather it just be super, super late than it be like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. That's me. I prefer, or they're trying to do stuff in the afternoon. It's like the French Paris Olympics was like weird. Like, thank goodness I work a morning show, or did, so I was actually like wake up and be awake. Usually that's when I'm preparing for the show for the next day to get ready to talk to Maggie and Perloff in the evening. So I actually was awake for a lot of stuff for the Olympics just because of the way I worked during that time. But to me, man, I would prefer, your games are at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Like, that's fine with me. I'm fine with that. I'd rather that than this. But I am excited about the semifinals for the men's Olympics, man, because we're hoping we get this Canadian-USA showdown, because that's the showdown I really want to see. 40 days, 40 nights. We have a couple more stuff we want to talk about before we get out of here, man. I want to talk about this A.J. Brown situation. So A.J. Brown, he was on Gronk and Julian Edelman's podcast. Forgive me, I do not remember the name off the top of my head. But he was asked, well, he wasn't even asked. He did a long interview that was relatively normal. And then at the end, it seemed like Julian Edelman wanted to have fun with A.J. Brown, who was disgruntled. And I think there's been an expectation that he may be gone in Philadelphia soon. And he laid this on A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown seemed willing to play ball a little bit.
Really fun to sit here and get to chop it up with you, bro. And just remember, we're all Patriots. You know that, right?
Are you going to be a Patriot? Are you going to be a Patriot? Do you want to be a Patriot? I'm trolling.
So you have Julian Edelman kind of teasing him, at the end of the day, we're all Patriots. And there's this long pause. And you see the reaction. The reaction was A.J. Brown winks at Edelman. And that's when they go crazy. And then A.J. Brown quickly is like, I'm trolling. Nothing going on, I'm trolling. And this obviously is not going to play well in Philadelphia. A.J. Brown was a malcontent for last season because he felt like the team's offense, at least reportedly, was not operating at a high level, in large part because he wasn't getting involved enough in the offense. It did not operate at a high level, so that was true. Whether it was because he wasn't getting the ball is a little more questionable, because then they tried to force feed him, and some of their worst performances were games where they were trying to force feed him the ball, where they were losing even though he got 8-9 catches. And then, of course, the last game of the season, they lose in the playoffs. He's dropping passes against the 49ers and being essentially on a milk carton. And he, of course, doesn't talk to the media after the game. He just dips. So that was how A.J. Brown's season ended. It began with him constantly complaining about not getting the ball. Then he starts getting the ball, and then they start losing. And then the playoffs, when he's talked about the entire season that he's a big game player and he wants the ball in crunch time, that throwing him the ball in crunch time, and he's dropping it. It was just not a good way the season ended at all for A.J. Brown. So here he is now on the podcast with Edelman and Gronk, obviously two Patriots legends, absolute legends, especially Gronk. And of course they're going to ask him about the Patriots stuff because there's been rumors that the Patriots are going to be invested in trying to find a number one wide receiver last year because we saw during the playoffs that it was very clear that their wide receiver room is not good enough to win a championship. A.J. Brown will likely be the best receiver that is available this offseason. And the Patriots have been looking for a number one receiver for years now. So then that wink and that reaction, again, is not going to play well in Philadelphia. There are a lot of people who want him gone anyway, so there may be some aspect being like, oh, good, he's being a malcontent again. Maybe this is more likely he'll get traded. But knowing Philadelphia, they don't want to be the person where like, no, you're not dumping me, I'm dumping you. Like they don't want to be the, they want to be a situation. You can't fire me, I quit. They don't want A.J. Brown to do that to them. I think they want to send him out the door, send him packing, and be the push that gets him out of here, not A.J. Brown, finagling his way out of the city. Because Philadelphia, they wear their hearts on their sleeves, and even if they hate this guy, they're still not going to love that he's joking about wanting to be on the Patriots. And I saw my good friend and mentor and awesome afternoon host Spike Eskin on WIP yesterday saying that this was basically the breaking point and A.J. Brown has to be traded. You can't continue on with this stuff because this is not going to stop. Like, this is going to be only the beginning of whatever antics A.J. Brown's going to do this offseason to talk about his dismay. And I think from a Philly standpoint, like I would, even if I wanted him gone and felt like this could help me get him out of here, I would still take offense to this. Because you complained all season, you caused all these issues and distractions. You did not play that well. You were terrible in the playoffs in the game that we should have won. You had nothing to say in the game where we were trying to get you the ball and we need you to come to a crunch time and you failed. You had nothing to say. You just tucked your tail and left. And now, the next time we see your face, you're laughing and winking about being a Patriot. Yeah, I wouldn't want this guy on my team either. So, will this work in terms of him going to the Patriots? Is that a good fit? I'm torn. I'm torn because I tend to worry about putting the super uber veteran receiver who's very outspoken with a young star who quarterback. Because the lack of patience that those receivers have sometimes, combined with what ends up, even though there shouldn't be a power dynamic that exists where I think those young quarterbacks are more inclined to want to force feed those older guys because they don't want to. They want to show kind of deference to them, especially when the last place they were at, they got mad because they didn't get the ball. They want to show deference to them. They want to get on the right foot, and they end up playing outside their game simply to kind of appease sometimes their best players. I think it hurt the Patriots, but I think part of what made the Patriots offense dangerous, their passing offense dangerous, was that they weren't just like force feeding one guy. That's not to say that they don't need a number one receiver, they do. But I do think that, like, in terms of the dynamic, I'm not sure if it's just an easy fit that, they just need a number one receiver. A.J. Brown, just plop him in and now you're good. A.J. Brown's a very good player, and he's still, I think, a good receiver, a guy who should be a 1,000-yard type receiver. I don't think he's A.J. Brown for 2 or 3 years ago. So if Drake May's going to be forcing him the ball like that, I think that's not going to have good results. The Eagles literally tried that this year, and they were losing games when they tried that. So I don't know if I love the fit of A.J. Brown with the Patriots. I get it. It makes sense, and he's the best guy that's going to be available, so I would probably still pull the trigger. I'm not 100% sure that it would actually work or that it actually would, mean that the Patriots will be back in the playoffs next year because I feel like A.J. Brown will eventually grow tired of Drake May too. That's typically how these things work. You may start off, I'm okay, and they'll be the best bromance in training camp. This always happens, right? New receiver comes in with his quarterback or a new quarterback, and they act like they've been best friends and they living together and all this other stuff, and then eventually that blows up because receivers are kind of ticking time bombs, a lot of them. And A.J. Brown definitely is one of those kind of guys. So this is one of those, I think, careful what you wish for if you're a Pats fan. And careful what you wish for if you're Edelman and Gronk. But I do think that, A.J. Brown says he's trolling. I don't think he's actually trolling. I think he would love to go to the Patriots. They went to the Super Bowl last year. Why wouldn't he want to join the Patriots? He hates Philadelphia. He hates the quarterback. He hates the team. He hates his current environment. And that's a team that it's going to be hard for it. In Philly, him not getting targets can be explained away. Whether it's right or wrong, it's not like, oh, like how is A.J. Brown not getting targets? Well, teams roll a lot of coverages to him, and the Eagles have a lot of other weapons that they can hit and still move the ball offensively. They have Goddard, they have Smith, they have Barkley out of the backfield, both as a pass catcher and a running back, obviously. They got plenty of weapons. So if they want to take away A.J. Brown, the smart thing to do is to go to those other weapons. That does not make A.J. Brown happy. He don't care that that they got other weapons. He doesn't care that defenses are rolling coverage to him. He still wants the ball. And he doesn't care that they're winning. He doesn't even care that they're winning. They won a Super Bowl. And as Perloff mentioned a couple weeks ago, he's still reading books on the sideline. So he doesn't care about any of that. He wants his targets. He wants to feel like he's in part of the game. He wants to feel like he's involved in the game. Which is, again, just the nature of wide receivers. There's, again, been psychoanalysis as to why receivers are like this, but it makes sense. They're the guys on the field who need the most things to go right in order to be productive, and they're literally furthest away from the rest of the team in terms of where they line up. It's a lot of it is predicated on one-on-one matchups. It's almost an individualized sport within a sport, just playing wide receiver. It makes sense why they have some of what we seem to call divas tendencies or selfish tendencies. But in order to be great, you kind of have to be willing to thrive in that environment where you need everyone else to be on P's and Q's in order for you to be good. You need to be able to dominate individual matchups. You need to be fine being kind of isolated away from the team. There's a lot of psychoanalysis that make wide receivers make sense. And A.J. Brown fits very much to a T when we talk about diva receivers and why they become the way they become. So I say that again, Patriots, be careful what you wish for. Because he's going to go to New England potentially. He would be productive. But how does that impact Drake May? Is he not force-feeding A.J. Brown more? If Drake May, in terms of being a young guy, still learning, still developing. I know he's young. He's a superstar, but he's still developing. Is A.J. Brown going to be patient with him? He had zero patience in Philadelphia. And that was a team that had all guys in their prime. Now he's got a young quarterback who's still learning. Worth the risk? Yes. Will it work? I have some doubts. Finally, man, before we get out of here, there's nothing we can do to really stop it, I guess. But as someone who lives with this reality, I hope that someone in the Chicagoland area and in Illinois wises up and make sure that this doesn't happen. Because yesterday, the city of Indiana, they passed a new bill that gets them now pretty close to being able to come to an agreement with the Chicago Bears to build a stadium for the Chicago Bears. Chicago, Illinois, the second city to play in Indiana. Now again, I am not from the Midwest, but I am familiar enough with geography and familiar enough with the Chicago area to know that Northwest Indiana is very much kind of like a Chicago suburb. So I get it from that standpoint that maybe it's not the hugest deal in terms of travel. Like when I actually did the Google map, because this stadium, I forgot the name of the town. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick. Hammond, Northwest Indiana. When I Googled it, I did it on Google Maps. I'll do it right here just on my phone. I think it'll be faster. Oh, actually, no, I have it here. No, I'll do it on my phone. I think it was like half-hour drive from Chicago, I want to say. Let me Google Maps this real quick. See, Hammond, Indiana. And where it is from Chicago. Let's do directions. So let's just say, where is it to Soldier Field? How long a drive that is. So it's a half-hour drive. So that's not terrible. But you're the Chicago Bears. You're going to play in Indiana, really? I don't know, man. It just feels wrong. It just feels wrong. It just feels wrong that this is something that is coming down to the wire now. I know the Illinois governor said that, hey, this is not a done deal yet, and we want to still make something happen. But this is also one of those things. And I know, and I talked about this with Manny the other day about how, like, there's so many things I miss about Maggie and Perloff's show and things we talk about. And there's, like, scores that don't get settled on the show. And I know you guys talk about all the bets that don't get paid off. One of the things that bothers me is this is also a big I told you so for me. Because what did I tell you guys on Maggie and Perloff? I said, good luck getting anything done in the state of Illinois and the state of Chicago with those politicians. And I got a lot of pushback. What do you mean? No, that's not fair. Or it's Chicago. They don't want to make sure they get the Bears in town, right? I'm like, I've done enough homework. There's a really good documentary, and I talked about it on Maggie Pearl show. I got sucked into watching, again, on one of these streaming services. This was HBO Max. They were pushing, I guess Jake Tapper has like a documentary series on like Great American Scandals. And I don't know why, but I ran there. I was like, I don't know why I want to watch this. But I got hooked, and the first episode was, I don't remember the first episode was. But they did Elliot Spitzer. They did the South Carolina governor who was in the Appalachians, but actually was with some chick in Chile or something like that. Chile or Argentina, I think. They did all these like politicians who had, you know, great promise. And the first guy, it was the Illinois governor that went to jail because he was trying to sell Obama's Senate seat. That's what it was. I don't remember that guy's name. But that was the first episode, and I was like, I kind of don't remember this. I kind of remember it vaguely, so I wanted to watch it. It was a great, and the guy's he's in the actual documentary, which made it great. But I wanted to watch this. I was like, oh, this seems very interesting, and then it was great. But like, what was cool about that doc was it went into depth about the history of corruption with Chicago politics. Like, Chicago and Illinois politics is basically political corruption was essentially almost born there. Like that, and them in New York City, they are the goats when it comes to political corruption, especially on the local level. So I was trying to tell them, and this is, I'm telling you, this is not a political take. Not Democrat, Republican, has nothing to do with that. It's just the history of the city, history of the state. I was like, good luck building anything new, especially something as big as a freaking NFL stadium, with these politicians trying to get them on board to get this thing across the finish line. I kept saying that. I was like, the history of this city and the history of that state, there's going to be massive complications with everything they do because everything is complicated there. And I got all this heat like, oh no, how you say that? Or Chicago's not worse than any other places. I'm like, okay. And now here we are. We're talking about the Indiana Bears coming up soon, potentially, because now the Indiana governor, they pushed a bill, and it's probably going to suck for the locals. Like, the Indiana residents are probably going to have to pay taxpayer money to get the Bears to come to Indiana when they already have a team in the Colts. So that doesn't seem to make much sense. But maybe that's more of a political take. But I'm going to leave that there, just from the basis of just pure sports standpoint. This is awful. I don't like the idea of the Bears playing in Indiana. And take it from somebody that roots for the New York Jets who play in New Jersey. For you Chicago folks, this sucks. It's going to suck. It's not going to feel good. And you're going to drive across the state border and you're going to see Indiana. You're going to feel odd as a Chicago Bears fan having to travel to Indiana to watch your team play football when the Chicago Bears are obviously synonymous with your city. It's going to suck. And I've lived with this environment with the Jets my entire life. It's been this way for 40 plus years since they left Shea Stadium. It has sucked this entire time. It still sucks. And I am begging the people of Chicago and the politicians there who never have a clue to hopefully get a clue and find a way to keep the Bears in Chicago in a way that I do hope doesn't like ruin, screw over the residents where they're paying out of the wazoo for the stadium, because the Bears and the McCaskey family damn sure have enough money to build their own damn stadium. I will always stand 10 toes on that. But I also am aware that Chicago politics is the worst. I'm 100% aware of that. So from that standpoint, I do hope that the residents there and the constituents put pressure on their people to say, hey man, let's make sure this doesn't happen. I mean, again, 25-minute drive from saying, but it's in Indiana. Indiana has a football team. Like, at least with the Jets and Giants, there is no New Jersey football team. So in tune, like the people of New Jersey, unless you're obviously South Jersey, of course, you're Eagles fans. But the people of North Jersey, Central Jersey, they're Giants and Jets fans, mostly Giants fans, but also Jets fans, because that has kind of become their pseudo team. That makes sense. The Colts are in Indiana. They have a team in the state. You're really going to allow another state to take your football team when they already have their own damn team? Come on, guys, get it together. It says here in this ESPN article, the Bears have been seeking legislation in Illinois that would allow the team to negotiate tax payments with local governing bodies instead of paying full property taxes. The team had previously announced that it would invest $2 billion in the construction of a stadium, but was seeking an estimated $850 million in public funding to cover, quote, essential local infrastructure, including roads, sewers, improvements to adjacent commuter rails, and the 326-acre property, around the 326-acre property that the Bears purchased in Arlington Heights, Illinois. An Illinois House panel had set for a hearing on such legislation Thursday morning before it was canceled. I assume it was canceled because you had this play by Indiana where they basically said, we're ready to go. All we're waiting to do is for you to come on board. And the Bears pretty much said, hey, this is, we like this and we'll have more conversations. This was a statement I believe they said it said, we appreciate the leadership shown by Governor Braun, Speaker Hudson, Senator Mishler, and members of Indiana General Assembly in establishing this critical framework and path forward to deliver a premier venue for all Chicagoland, which makes me sick. I'm like, it's freaking Indiana. To even put that in there is crazy. But for all Chicagoland and a destination for Bear fans and visitors from across the globe, we value our partnership and look forward to continuing to build our working relationship together. I mean, that sounds bad. That sounds like, yeah, we're ready to go, man. This looks awesome. The bill will create the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority with the power to issue bonds, acquired land, and finance construction for the stadium. Bear said in a statement, the passage of SB 27 would mark the most meaningful step forward in our stadium planning efforts to date. Quote, we are committed to finishing the remaining site-specific necessary due diligence to support our vision to build a world-class stadium near Wolf Lake area in Hammond, Indiana. This could happen. And I know they're still playing a little chicken. I think the Bears don't want to have to go to Indiana, but we know what they want to do way more than not go to Indiana, not pay taxes, not have to pay for not have to pay the entire bill for the stadium. They much rather do that than not go to Indiana. So in Chicago, they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. The Bears lease at Soldier Field, the stadium where they play, but it's owned by the city, runs through 2033. I don't know if they have to play through that the entire time and then buy themselves out. I don't know how that would work. But this is not a small thing. This is definitely down the road. Again, the governor put out a statement of Illinois saying Illinois is ready to move forward with their bill, the bill I mentioned earlier that was in the House that got canceled, the meeting. After a productive 3-hour meeting yesterday, the Bears leadership requested that the bill be put on pause. The hearing be put on pause to make further tweaks to the bill. This morning, we were surprised to see a statement lauding Indiana and ignoring Illinois. This is gonna suck. There's another aspect to this where people say, "Oh, the Bears are gonna go to a dome." That sucks. You know how I feel about weather football. I hate weather football, and I think it mostly sucks. In fact, I think it's part of the reason why the Bears haven't won anything in 40 years. So the dome aspect doesn't bother me as much, especially when you're going to be ushering this new stadium with Caleb Williams as your star quarterback, and you would think you want to play in good weather conditions in order to make him as dominant as he could possibly be. But what I always say is, I know it's the most expensive route, but these places should be retractable roof stadiums. Like, I don't get why, if you're the Bears, from a advantage standpoint, why you don't make your stadium a retractable roof. Now, I know why from a money standpoint, but from a football standpoint, I think that's the best of both worlds. I think the Bears should play in a retractable roof stadium because I think it makes sense to have indoor capabilities for when the weather is so bad that it makes sense just for advantage for your team to actually close the roof. But if it's not snow, if it's not like blizzard temperature weather, or it's not like sub-zero temperatures, you got a team like the Rams, for example, coming in like they did in the playoffs. Open the roof. Open the roof. Let it be a cold weather game for that game. But for some teams that maybe it's better suited that the game is a cold weather game and they want to kind of play a ball control kind of game, close the roof and say, we're going to try to make this track meet. I think that actually would be an advantage to these teams. Like with the Bills, I was like, the Bills are doing an open roof stadium. Like, how many we had playoff games postponed for the Bills because they can't freaking deal with the snow. We had games that had to be canceled because of snow. You had to play games in Detroit. If you have a retractable roof, you can close the roof, say, okay, it sucks that we can't have the snow in this game because the snow's too bad, but at least we can play the game. These teams can't even play some of these games because of these conditions. You get the Chiefs, they're going to be moving potentially to a domed arena. They had the game in Miami a couple years ago, and albeit they won that game, and it was good to play this game in sub-degree temperatures. But you had people that had to get their toes and fingers amputated for sitting in the cold for 3 hours in that game they played in the playoffs against the Dolphins a couple years ago. That's the game you close the roof. Close the roof so everybody can leave with all their limbs and all their digits, and we could go out in one piece. You probably would have beat the Dolphins anyway. The fact that we got the retractable roof thing was like the thing in vogue when I was a kid, and it seems like that's gone away now, and nobody's building retractable roofs. They're just building domes. I'm like, no, man, go back to the retractable roofs. Retractable roofs are good, and then for football, it can be really strategic and really smart. The Bears should be playing in a retractable roof stadium. It shouldn't be a dome, but also I don't think it should be an open air stadium. I think they could have the best of both worlds if they spend a little money. And trust me, again, they're owners in the NFL. They have the money. These are the richest mofos in the entire world. These people. I mean, the NFL prints money. Build a retractable roof. But even more important, do not go to Indiana. Please. This objectively sucks. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you guys for watching 40 Days and 40 Nights. Again, with your boy EJ Stewart. Apologies to the Instagram audience. I know I jumped on way later than I usually do. So apologies to that. But thank you guys for rocking with me. You guys probably for right now or for the rest of the group for the last 2 hours. Of course, if you enjoyed these episodes, you can catch them all on our podcast network. The audio versions of the episodes go up on the podcast network. Yesterday's episodes are not up yet because I was essentially a zombie. So I did not do any work beyond just actually going live. But those episodes have been downloaded, and I'll be putting them up very shortly. And then this episode as well will go up on our podcast network. So just search New Generation Podcast Network. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can get these episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights along with all the episodes we have. So just search New Generation Podcast Network. Also be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media. You can do me one favor. If you can give me a like in this video and comment in the comment section, that'd be greatly appreciated. We appreciate the engagement. And if you can also, of course, give us a little subscription as well. Subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on X, EJ_Stewart, where I am live on X right now. Shout out to the folks watching me on X. Appreciate you guys. And also, of course, make sure you catch me on, where else am I at? I said Instagram already, where I'm now, again, live on Instagram. IG, Action EJ, where you find me on IG Live. We have a comment here from my guy John Lean, says, later, great weekend. Gonna go back and check Manny on last night's show. Manny was awesome, man. It's really fun to have Manny. I love that I was able to surprise him because he didn't realize I had Manny Rodriguez drops. So that was quite fun.
Ah, damn it!
So I got to play me a bunch of those.
Cry me a river, Philadelphia fans.
I'm sure he wasn't saying this last night.
Let's go Knicks!
I don't think so. I think this was more like
It's the New York Knicks, damn it.
It's probably how he felt watching them lose last night. So we had Manny on. That was a lot of fun. We had a great time. And again, I floated it out there. I'm floating it out there because I still didn't send out the text yet. I didn't make the actual moves. I guess I talked about soft launching before. I think this is soft launching or maybe trial ballooning. I thought an idea. But I said, wouldn't it be interesting and wouldn't it be fun if we are able to get Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Andrew Bogish, and Manny Rodriguez all on 40 Days and 40 Nights for one of these live streams? Wouldn't that be a great idea? I still don't know if I had the physical capabilities to do that, given like how this whole stream works. I don't know why I just did that. That shows you how. Yeah, I should not have done that. No, I was doing that because that's the guest thing, and I was kind of wondering. I was like, can I add? How many guests can I add? Like right now, it only says guest one, but that's probably because there's no one here. is part of this software that I'm working on. Like, how many guests can I have in one stream is a question that I don't actually know the answer to. But wouldn't that be interesting and fun if I could do that? I want to see if I can try to make that happen. I think that'd be a really fun show. But Manny was on last night. That episode is on YouTube, by the way. You could always just go on YouTube and watch the episode. It's also on my X account as well. You can go back and watch it on X. And, of course, I'll have the podcast version if you're on the go. Or if you want to just listen to it, you can hear that conversation with Manny. We had a great time. Talked Knicks, talked Yankees, talked a bunch of different things. So, really excited and really fun to have Manny. But, man, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have the whole team? Maybe we could have Andrew Perloff in here.
You suck, Bogus.
Along with Bogus as well.
Adult toy-shaped feet.
And, of course, you got to have Maggie Gray here.
Yeah, finally!
We can get all of them together. Form the Avengers once again. The Avengers of Infinity Sports Network. That'd be quite cool. Kendall comes up later today. Kendall Stewart, my brother, for Kendall Fridays. We will then have, like I said earlier, I announced yesterday, Evan Roberts from WFAN on a Monday night. And Zach Gelb, formerly of Infinity Sports Network, currently of the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports on Tuesday nights. We have some great guests coming up, so we're going to have some more fun shows as we wind down 40 days and 40 nights. Day 30. To see the 3 number after this, yeah, I've seen the number slowly go up from single digits to double digits. Then we're in the 20s. Now we're in the 30s. It makes it very real that this is coming indeed to the wire as we wrap up week 6 here of this series. That'll do it for now. I want to thank you guys so much for checking me out for 40 days and 40 nights. I'll be back 6 p.m. for my second live show of the day. Kendall will join me. This was a fun morning, so I hope you guys appreciated the chatter. And I'll be back later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend if I don't see you later. Peace.